Episode 14, Titan's replacement comes in, and he is General Shadow. Unlike Titan, General Shadow isn't concerned with Black Satan and just wants to kill Stronger. And boy, does he show it with how he screws over Titan, because him and Shadow do not get along. And I just like seeing whenever Titan's pulling off a plan and General Shadow just foils it immediately. Because he's just a petty motherfucker. And he just wants to kill Stronger, and he does not know. Well, no, he knows. He just doesn't care how he does it. It's like, whew, I just like him. And so, episodes 22 and 23 are a two-part conclusion to Titan's tenure, because he dies again permanently. In episode 25, another general comes in, replacing Titan and dethroning General Shadow. Black Satan's second to the Great Leader, highest commander, Dead Lion. Spoiler alert, he doesn't die soon, but he will be out of a job. During a fight with Stronger, he loses a pendant with vital information about the Great Leader on it. And in the next episode, Black Satan tries to get it back. And in episode 26, Shigeru soon discovers the Great Leader and destroys him. But before he dies, he alludes that more enemies will come after he's gone. Speaking of said enemies, that new character I just brought up, Dead Lion, never seen again after this. Like, honest to God, he wasn't killed by Stronger or anything. It's like, after the Great Leader died, who knows what his ultimate fate was, because he's never shown again, as if the writers just forgot about him. Well, honestly, I should possibly take that back, because one writer apparently did remember him years later in the KamenRider Spirits manga, where apparently that character is still around and now he's aligned with previous factions and the new villains that fight KamenRider Zekross, apparently. So that's all. Just what we got. I should remind you all that General Shadow is still alive and is now at the forefront along with the new villains, the Delta Army. They appear in episode 27, and it's where we learn that all the monsters in this show are demons that have been around for as long as humans, and they have cybernetic augmentations. And one big thing that the Delta Army cyber demons have over Shigeru and Stronger, is resistance to electricity. So Stronger's usual attacks, like his Rider Kick, won't work on them or anything until episode 31. So for the time being, Stronger has to rely on using his surroundings to beat them one at a time. So, episode 30. This is a trap for my emotions. Okay, so two monsters we'll focus on for these two episodes are Dr. Kate and Major Skull. Dr. Kate first attempts to attack Stronger, and he soon gets help from Tackle and Tachibana. Dr. Kate has a liquid and gaseous poison that'll weaken your body and will eventually kill you. Tackle unfortunately gets hit by it. Weirdly enough, Stronger gets hit by it too, but Tackle must have gotten a bigger dosage. The bottom line is, she's going to die, and Yuriko and Shigeru's relationship has had some undertones. Somewhat brother and sister, or possibly romantic, which does happen sometimes, especially when working together for as long as they have. I didn't see it before, but I saw it in this episode that they both potentially like each other. Hell, the only reason she doesn't tell Shigeru is because of how much she likes him that she doesn't want to slow him down because of her condition. Tackle and Dr. Kate are fighting, and to beat her once and for all, Tackle uses a forbidden move that will cost her her life and her powers, called the Ultra Cyclone. In doing so, she kills Dr. Kate, and she shortly dies herself.
What? You motherfucker! Oh my god, you son of a bitch!
Dear God, my emotions. Great episode, but it hurts that it teases me of what could have been with Shigeru and Yuriko. Because you want to know another thing too? There was an idea that they were going to bring Tackle back and officially consider her a KamenRider, and they never went through with it. That's how much it hurts. So, episode 31, Major Skull is still out and after Stronger and is very damn close to beating him because, like what I said, these monsters have the advantage of being unaffected by electrical attacks. So in Stronger's current state, he's ineffective. They finally changed that when a former Black Satan scientist that escaped finds Shigeru heavily injured and performs surgery on him to enhance his powers. Major Skull finds them and first kills the scientist, sadly, but Stronger can now resort to his new and the very first ever final form, Charge Up form. The only downside is that it can only last for 1 minute, but he uses that 1 minute quite effectively because he beats Major Skull in like 10 seconds. So, let's talk about Charge Up form, shall we? It's parts of it are now just silver. That's really about it. And every time we see it on screen, it's always for like when he needs to do the finisher. And so, at least we see it and he's using it. And there are other times where he will just use, I think 1 or 2 times where he uses Charge Up in combat, and afterwards wears off after a minute. But hey, at least he uses it effectively. And keep in mind, there are like, it's episode 31 now, so 8 episodes left. But still, back to Charge Up form. Their KamenRider Saber's production staff have said that they were inspired by Charge Up to go into the Reiwa era, creating more simplistic final forms, like nothing too crazy or overly designed, like for example, Zero Two and Cross Saber, 2 forms that take inspiration from the base form. And so, I just talked about episode 31, so episode 34 going forward is the beginning of the end. Like, this show as a whole was 39 episodes, and afterwards, KamenRider would be off the air until Skyrider 4 years later. So, knowing this, those writers must have thought, hey, let's go all out. So, episode 35, we get a new general coming to Japan, Marshall Machine. He's coming to Japan along with Armor Knight and Lieutenant Colonel Magnet. Every time I say that name, I wonder, is he a colonel or a lieutenant? Anywho, the Delta Army has been working around parts of the world, such as Spain, Greece, while General Shadow was in, well, Japan. Marshall Machine, on the other hand, was working in Egypt and was followed back to Japan by Hiroshi Miyauchi, aka Shiro Kazami, aka KamenRider V3. It turns out V3 and the other previous writers have been keeping up with the Delta Army's activities, and in episode 36, KamenRider X and KamenRider Amazon both return to Japan too. And it's actually quite nice to see these characters again. When Amazon shows up, he's using the Condor to hold down a monster, and the only way anyone could recognize him is for when he strips off his clothes and he's just wearing his jungle garbs. Like, that's the only way he's recognizable, when he's not wearing pants. Hell, the man got a haircut. You can at least acknowledge that, but you can only recognize him when he's not wearing pants. I mean, when he's not wearing pants, that's just says something about that show as a whole. And for Kamen Rider X, I may not be a big, I may not be too big of a fan about that show, but it was nice to see Keisuke again. And keep in mind, that show also did have nice fight choreography, and he does use the Ride-All, awesome weapon. And so, episode 37, Rider Man comes back, and him, V3, and Stronger learn about the Delta Army's next plan to destroy a dam along with destroy shit with an earthquake machine. It turns out it was all a big setup to capture V3 and Rider Man, and the episode ends with General Shadow challenging Stronger to a final duel after receiving a prophecy that he'll die. And so, episode 38, General Shadow dies, but he manages to at least injure Stronger. Shigeru gets captured and is saved by Tachibana and Kamen Riders Ichigo and Nigo. And they get together and they foil the Delta army at the moment while trying to rescue V3 and Rider Man. And so, episode 39, the final episode. Stronger and Ichigo take care of Armor Knight and Lieutenant Colonel Magnet. And weirdly enough, I thought they died, but actually they knocked them out. I was shocked for a moment and confused because if they had died, I was looking like, wait, where's the explosion? Like, I straight up would have been looking for like explosion to go off. Like, I've lived in this world where explosions symbolize something. Now it's changing. The Riders have two generals hostage, but Marshall Machine still reminds them that he still has V3 and Rider Man. And, well, now scratch that. He did have V3 and Rider Man, but they were saved by X and Amazon. I'm gonna be honest, this finale has good and bad parts. We're slowly getting to one of the bad parts with the final antagonists, sadly. But for right now, both sides are free from each other, and Tachibana is being held hostage by Marshall Machine, so the Riders go to rescue him and actually face the final boss. The great leader of the Delta army revives an army of dead monsters, and as I said before in the Super 1 movie, all the previous Riders brawling with an army of monsters, that is fantastic. There's no need for flash, only explosions, and it's a big ass battle that's early Gokaiger 199. See Rider Man constantly kick the shit out of a monster because fuck you? Hell yeah, I would want to watch that. See V3 fight 2-on-1? Show me another time where you'll see X flip a monster off a mountain while Amazon does the same thing while adding on a big slice. So Stronger saves Tachibana and beats Marshall Machine. The army's beaten, and all that's left is the Great Leader. This is where the finale gets confusing. The Great Leader of the Delta Army. Where did he come from? And why haven't we heard of him before? Did this show really even need him? Like, if you wanted a final antagonist, you could have just used either General Shadow or Marshall Machine, because they were characters that we've already spent time investing in. But just some giant monster that's been hiding out for a little bit. Hell, I don't even just. And he's a combination of all the great leaders of evil organizations throughout the franchise? What? They all try to fight him, and not well at first, until everyone decides to combine their powers to shoot themselves into the monster. And they don't even do anything to kill it. They just find the brain, and it decides to self-destruct with everyone inside. Why the hell did you even bother?
Stupid! You're so stupid!
And this is why I don't dig how Stronger ends. Story-wise and editing-wise. Story-wise, it had a great start, bring back all the writers from start to now for one final hurrah. What the writers should not have done was create a final boss. Because, let's be real, they didn't need a final boss. Up to that point, the Delza army was fine enough, was just, with working with just, there were the lower monsters, and then there were like the higher monsters, the generals, like Shadow and Martial Machine. So it could, so like the last monster could have just been any of them. But that guy, some giant rock monster who just comes out of nowhere and says he's something that doesn't make sense for the life of me. Now, I'm being dead serious. If you've watched my reviews or if you've at least seen the other shows, you would understand how it makes zero sense how that thing would be the mastermind pulling the strings for the last, I don't know, 5 years. It just wouldn't make sense and doesn't. Now, editing wise, they beat the monster, all the writers just right off into the sunset. And when the camera pans over to each character chronologically and individually, which it does a lot in that final episode, excessively, and it's so annoying. But when they do it one final time, they have the camera panned on each writer chronologically, and then they play someone else's music. Like, for example, cameras on Ichigo, V3's theme song is playing. Cameras on V3, Ichigo's theme song is playing. While shots of him fighting monsters are just popping up on our screen. That happens until we see the end credit. What? Who in the editing room botched that up? Because, like, just no. If you want to end things on a good note, you don't screw yourself over. I don't know if you know that or not. You just don't. Ugh. Anywho, let's now go on to the characters, shall we? So, yeah, that's the end of Stronger, and that's the end of KamenRider until Skyrider comes back in 1979. And so, now that we have officially wrapped up the show, now the characters, starting off with Stronger himself, Shigeru. I actually quite like Shigeru. He's pretty charismatic, and that's what I love possibly the most about him, because he is such a dick, and he knows it. It's the same reason why I like Ollie, Dino Fury Blue. He's a dick, and he knows it, and he uses that to be entertaining. And I think I've heard something before about him being a little sexist or disrespectful towards Yuriko. And honestly, I did not see that at all. They both obviously respect each other and aren't harsh to each other at all. But Shigeru, he is just... I can watch Shigeru and not be bored. And I think it's because he brings a lot more to his personality. And the reason why I say that is because, well, for starters, he's not stoic. He's chill, but he is serious. And I think it's more entertaining to watch someone who's chill and serious as opposed to someone who's just stoic and serious. Because, I'm sorry, in my opinion, if you're watching a particular show that's part of a franchise and each character that's the main lead is stoic, like, it gets boring after a while. So, getting someone who is not, like, say, in serious mode all the time, that's nice. And I think another thing that works perfectly for Shigeru is that he stands out, not just in terms of personality, but in terms of story too. Like, he wasn't thrusted into this, he chose to do this willingly. Like us learning that he willingly went out to find Black Satan just so he can get the power to fight them. The fact that he was willing to go out and find Black Satan and risk his own life just to avenge his friend, it shows how dedicated he is to his mission, and I appreciate that. Like, he didn't have to, he wanted to. That's what I like so much. I feel like with those before and I guess after him, they were more or less thrusted into this. So sometimes it's either they have to, not that they want to, it's a they need to. But with Shigeru, it's completely different, and I was here for it. So next, Yuriko. I wish she was still in the show because I did like her character. She wasn't bad, and I guess to me she wasn't too much of a load because she did still manage to investigate and find whoever was the monster of the week. And I don't know, I don't overall hate her. I think she's totally fine. Though I do wish she actually did take out a monster just more than once. And while I'm at it, let's touch on a more serious subject. And I'm including Tachibana's actor into this too. These three actors, Shigeru's actor, Yuriko's actor, and Tachibana's actor, all three of them have passed away. Yuriko's actress is the earliest because she was 27 and she died in 1986 due to a very bad asthma attack. And so that hurts to hear. And it's really sad when you think about it too, because she was a very gorgeous woman, seemed very lively. And Tachibana's actor, Akiji Kobayashi, passed away in the 90s. Like, literally the only one of these three that managed to make it into the 2000s was Shigeru's actor, because he passed away in 2012 due to, I want to say, cancer. But yeah, it's just sad to hear and feel, because these actors were pretty good with the work they were given. They were not bad characters. Alright, so with that said, now that we've done the show and the characters, we are now going to read, well, the comments for people's thoughts on Stronger, which I uploaded and asked yesterday. Let's need a moment to pull it up. So let's now see. The first things first, this is on Facebook, and I'm just reading 3 comments. One is about how it's the first KamenRider to get an upgrade form. And the other two, like I said too, a lot of people seem to like this show. And honestly, I can get why they like it. Speaking of which, number 1 watcher, Ray Hayes, this is your comment, man. I enjoyed it. I didn't see what made the TokuCast hate it. Personally, I can see how people could enjoy this show, sort of. But I don't hate this show. Like, here are my thoughts on Stronger. To me, it's in the middle. Like, it does repeat a couple of things that we have seen before in the Showa era and just in general. To which I'm thinking about right now if I will do a video on it, possibly, and I'll decide that off camera. Anywho, this show, it's not terrible or the worst. Like, I like the characters. I do like Stronger's powers and how dynamic they are. Black Satan was but the Delta Army was slightly better. General Shadow was just sweet. But altogether, as a show, I think it's fine for the most part. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's terrible. It's just in the middle for me. And so, with that said, thank you guys for watching. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, share this video. Tell me what you guys think about Stronger in the comments down below. And so, with that said, my next show I'll be reviewing is KamenRider Skyrider. We are going on now to 4 years later into the future. With that next, guys, the next time I review a modern KamenRider series will be December or something, months away. But yeah, Skyrider, that's something I was also curious about, and I hope it is good. With that said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.